In this video, we're going to study rhombi and squares. Just like rectangle in the previous video, rhombi shares all the same properties of parallelograms. So their opposite sides are congruent and parallel, and their opposite angles are congruent, consecutive angles are supplementary, and their diagonals bisect each other. In addition, all four sides of a rhombus are also congruent, and their diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Finally, their diagonals not only bisect each other, they also bisect opposite angles. So they're angle bisectors, right? So now let's look at some examples here. Here I have JK at 12, JN at 7. Now, because it's a rhombus, that's given, so I've got 90 degrees here. And now that will allow me to fill in these blanks here. So JM is right here. So rhombus has all four sides being equal. And JL is right here. JL should be twice as long of JN, so that should be 14 because diagonals bisect each other. MN, which is right here. And this is a tricky part. I don't know MN, but because I have a right triangle here, I've got a Pythagorean theorem going on here. So if I set it up as x squared plus 7 squared equals 12 squared, I should have 95 equals x squared. So x comes out to be approximately 9.7. So MN is 9.7. If MN is 9.7, MK is 2 times as long. So that's 2 times MN, and I should have 19.4. Okay, so that's the first question. For question number 2, it's fairly similar. I've got EF at 23. I've got DF, in this case, 40. You know what? I'm going to change this to 20. DF is 20. I think that may be make our life a little easier. Keep the number smaller. So GF is right here. So if I have 23 on EF, I have to have 23 on all four sides. HF is right here. And if I have DF as 20, HF is half of 20, so I should have 10. GH is right here. And if I have 10 here, I have 23 here, I can find out my GH as x squared plus 10 squared equals 23 squared, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And x comes out to be approximately 20.7. So that's 20.7. And then finally GE, which is right here, and GE should be just twice as long as GH, and that's 41.4. Okay. Let's look at the other 3 problems on this page. Let's see if I can scroll it down. There we go. So for 3, I have RT, this whole thing at 22. I have US, the whole thing at 18. And this is a rhombus. So I'm asked to find VT. VT has to be half of RT. So half of RT. So I should have 11. Now I'm asked to find UV. Same thing, half of US. So I have 9. RS is a little bit more challenging, but notice I'm going to change the color to red. Since this part, UV is 9 here. And then VT is here, which is here too as well. RV and VT are congruent to each other, right? So if I'm asked to find RS, I should have 9 for VS as well. So RS squared should equal 11 squared plus 9 squared. And RS should come out to be about 14.2. That's my red ink right there. Now ST ST is right here. If RS is 14.2, all four sides are exactly the same at 14.2. So for problem number 4, the only thing I'm given is that this angle is 38. Notice if this angle is 38 degrees, angle 4 must be congruent because they are alternate interiors. And that's because for rhombus, just like parallelograms, their opposite sides are parallel, right? So if angle 4 is 98 degrees and over here, the diagonals are perpendicular to each other, angle 2 has to be 90 minus 38. That would give me 52 degrees. And if angle 2 is 52 degrees, angle 7 being the alternate interior angle has to be congruent to each other, right? Once we've got that, the rest of it is a lot easier because remember for a rhombus, the diagonals not only bisect each other in terms of length, but they also bisect opposite angles. So angle 3 has to be 38 degrees, and angle 4 and angle 5 has to be the same at 38 degrees. Angle 1 and angle 2 must be the same at 52, and angle 6 and angle 7 must be the same at 52. And angle 8, obviously, is 90 degrees. Okay? Now, the last question, I have ZY, which is at the bottom here at 34. WY at WY is the diagonal at 38. CXY. So this is 34 degrees. So let's look at length first. I've got WZ. WZ has to be 34 because all four sides are the same, right? VY is here. If this whole diagonal is 38, VY is half as much. ZV is right here. So I'm going to change my ink color again. So I need to know this. If this is X, I know this part is 19 and this part is 34. So X squared plus 19 squared should be the same as 34 squared. And therefore ZY, if you do your calculator work, you should come up to 28.2. And then if ZY is 28.2, ZX is twice as long. That should be 56.4. Okay? Now let's look at angles. If this angle is 34, WXZ has to be, these two has to be congruent because the diagonal is an angle bisector as well. WVZ obviously is 90 degrees because that's where the diagonals intersect each other. Angle ZYW is right here, right? So if I add these two angles together, so 34 times 2 should be whatever this angle is. If I call this angle, well, just use the letters. Angle measure XYZ. I add these two angles together, I should have 180 degrees because they are consecutive angles. And therefore WZYX, the big angle, or XYZ in this case, it's 180 minus 68. So XYZ, 180 minus 68 is 112, right? 112 degrees. Now, I'm asked to find out ZYW, so that should be half of 112. That should give me 56 degrees, right? And then WXYW is the other half. So that's 56 degrees as well. Okay, so that was about run by. Let's look at these properties and practices about squares. Squares, in a way, is the easiest, the concept, because it has all the properties. It has all the properties of parallelogram, rectangle, and rhombus. So you can use all of these properties added together to help you solve these problems. Let's look at this. I've got A, B, C, D. AD is 11. We have to find each missing value. So BC obviously has to be the same at 11. AC, if I have one side is 11, all four sides are 11. So in this triangle, I should have 11 squared plus 11 squared equals AC squared. And you should have 15.6 once you finish that calculation. BD obviously has to be exactly the same. And EC obviously has to be half of AC at 7.8. Angles, because all the angles in the corner are 90 degrees, and these diagonals would bisect all the 90-degree angles. So all the angles that's split by the diagonal is 45 degrees. So if we have angle DAB, that would be 90. Angle AEB is 90. Angle CBD is 45 degrees. And BAC is also 45 degrees. Okay? So I will leave number 7 for yourself to solve. Let me give you the answers here. Make sure you pause the video. And then come back and verify your answers. Here are some algebra questions. If this is a rhombus, find MP. MP is right here, so I'm asked to find this. And recall, rhombus, all the four sides are exactly the same. So if I find an x, find the value for x, I can just find one side and I find all four sides, right? And because all four sides are exactly the same, I can set it up like this. And I will have 6x equals, this would be 84, and x equals 14. And now I can place it in anywhere. I can do PO at 3 times 14 plus 7. So I should have 49. And if PO is 49, MP should be 49 as well. This one, again, it's a rhombus. Remember, diagonals bisects the angles. So the two angles right here, 8x minus 20, should be exactly the same. And if you solve this, x equals 7. Now we're asked to find angle FED. FED, which is this angle, right? So this angle is consecutive to these total angles. So what I need to do is I plug in the x, 5 times x plus 1 gives me the top half. And I multiply that by 2 gives me this total angle. This angle plus angle measure of DFED should equal 180. And if you finish doing that, your angle measure of FED should come out to be 108 degrees. So I will leave 10 and 11 for yourself to do, but I'll share the answers here. VT is 62, and for number 11, x equals to 6. All right, thank you guys.